Hey and welcome to this video. So in this video we are gonna create the new blog post page. So what we are gonna do first is we are gonna go in here and say public function create, and in here we are gonna say return view, and then we are gonna say pages blog, and I think we have this inside here, and then we are going to create something called new.blade.php, and if we then just go in and call this new, then what we can do, go in here and we can go in and say the same thing as we do in here. Okay, good. So first of all, let's go in and create a div with the class of card or container, and then card, and then let's say card, and then we can have a one with card body. Alright, so inside our card body we can have a form with an action that's at the moment just gonna be empty. And then we inside our form we are gonna have enc type multipart form data in case you want to upload an image, and then we are gonna add in here, we are gonna add in a div with the class of form group. Inside here we're gonna have a label of for title, and we're gonna have this as a class of and we're gonna just leave it like this for now, and then we're gonna call this title, and then we're gonna go in here and say input type text class form control, and then we need just say what it says here. So it missed some associated little labels, so we can also go in and call this title. We're gonna use Laravel later on, and then we can say ID title, which was the missing associated label, because that's a good practice to have an ID on a form type. So now if we go into our routes here, we need to add in the new blog post. Okay, so what should happen now is if we go in here and say new post, then we get an error, and this is because the function create does not exist. So that's because we of course need to change this to block controller, and we also need to change this to block controller, and we need to change this to block controller. Okay, good. So now we have the possibility to add in a title here, but what would be nice to be able to add would be to authenticate if you are an admin or not. So at the moment what we are gonna do is we are gonna make this small solution, and we are gonna go in here and say if user, and then we can just actually go in here and just say this instead. This would actually work too. And then we can say return here. Otherwise, we can say redirect back. But just to simplify the syntax a bit, we can actually do it like this. So this doesn't work, and the reason why is because we have this error we're trying to get from of an object. So the problem with this is we need to change it to user here. Okay, so the problem is we trying to get an object if the user is signed in. So what we actually need to do is we are gonna say auth user is admin, and we're gonna improve the conditional statement a bit and say if auth guest, but we don't want it to be a guest. In case you are not an admin, you will just be redirected back to wherever you came from. And this should fix the problem almost. So if we go in now, new post, you can see it just will not show you it. It won't redirect you back. So if we first of all try and put it in here just to see if this will look better, and then we move here. So this is definitely not the problem, because you can see this actually checks that you're not logged in. Then you need to also be an admin, else we will have redirect back, and this is where it fails to redirect back to the old one. Because the reason why this fails is because we need to return this. So now if you go in here, it will basically try to redirect you back, but because we didn't come from a place, so now it works. So what we can do instead, if it was, we could just say redirect back to home. Then if we say new post, it will just redirect back to home. So even if we go in and insert directly from here, it will go back to home. So this is again a simple solution to this, and I think even though I've made some errors in my code, it's important to look at the mistakes you make and try to resolve them. So I think it's a good idea to also learn that as a programmer, you always come with errors, and you always have an error when you run some code sometimes is not something you can avoid. So therefore, the fact that you or another person makes errors is just simply a good thing, because that shows that everyone will have errors in their code. So now the last thing we need to do is we need to put in a submit button, and then we need to, in the next video, we will add in the CK editor, and we are going to use that as our Wiswig editor that we will use to be able to highlight text and that, and then store it in our database. So that's why we are not going to implement this in this video, so we're going to do that in the next one. So if we now go in here and say button, and then we can go in and say submit, then we also in the next video gonna update this one to the route where we actually post something, and then we're also gonna store it in the database in the next video. So thank you very much for watching this video. See you in the next one.